Hey there, thanks for watching Vision, the show all about the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm Lindsay Poe, your host this season. And we've got Dr. Robert West here for the entire show. He's from the Department of English. He's a professor there, but wears many other hats here in the college. And you're here to talk about your recent publication, and then also Mississippi State being awarded the Phi Beta Kappa chapter, which is a huge deal. We'll kind of save that for the second half of the show. I want to start things off and just have you introduce yourself basically to our viewers. Tell us about your path to Mississippi State.
Okay. I grew up in Hendersonville, North Carolina, in the western part of the state, in the mountains, just a little south of Asheville.
Yes, beautiful there.
It is, and I miss that landscape. But then went to college at Wake Forest University, which is where I was inducted into Phi Beta Kappa.
Okay.
Majored in English with a minor in religion. Went to graduate school at UNC Chapel Hill, had a great experience there. And then my first job out of graduate school was a visiting assistant professorship back at Wake Forest. That was really fun. The people I used to call Dr. So-and-so now are Ann and Barry and so forth. And they were great mentors to me, great examples as teachers. I had that position for a couple of years before interviewing for an assistant professorship here in the English department.
Nice.
And began my appointment here in the fall of 2002.
Okay.
And so it's been 16 years.
16 years. And what's kept you here?
Well, there are lots of good things about the campus and town, the area. It's a very, very collegial department. The College of Arts and Sciences on the whole is a very collegial body. And the university on the whole is really nice. Campus is nice. There are all kinds of reasons to stay here.
Yeah.
And there are ways that the area and the state as a whole could be better. But I think a lot of the work we do in the College of Arts and Sciences here and outside it at Mississippi State, I think a lot of the work we're doing is helping to lead the state forward.
Awesome. We could add some mountains too. That's what you're saying, right?
I've managed to live without the mountains. I still have family back there. I get to see it at Christmas time. Yeah, but no, it's been nice here. You know, my wife and I had our child here, and so she's the one native Mississippian in the family.
Absolutely.
Right. She's had a good experience in school and with friends and church here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you teach in the Department of English.
Right.
What are some primary classes, real quick, that you teach that are kind of your classes?
Well, I mean, I do teach some lower division surveys. The one I most often teach is American literature after 1865.
Okay.
Occasionally world literature after 1600. That's a lot of fun because I get to teach works in translation and we get to talk about translation and what it really, you know, how it works. But really the answer to your question, what are the upper division courses I teach? I teach Southern literature every once in a while. I'm one of about 3 members of our department who are qualified to teach that. So we trade off.
Okay.
Anymore, I'm pretty much the only person teaching a course called Form and Theory of Poetry. That's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And a course called Poetry Since 1900.
And poetry is kind of your primary area, right? You just had this major publication, which I want to talk about, and it was 2 volumes.
That's right.
Of poems.
By the poet A.R. Ammons.
Okay. And talk to us about that. So you were the editor of these volumes, and I think that maybe sometimes it's confusing. So, oh, well, you're just the editor of the book. You weren't the author.
Sure,
of the
who
book.
knows what that means?
Right.
If you haven't actually done it, you don't know.
So can you talk about those books, kind of the process and what that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. A.R. Ammons was named Archie Randolph Ammons. That was his full name. But I think when he was ready to bring out his first book in the mid-1950s, he thought, well, to be respectable, maybe I should sound like T.S. Eliot or W.H. Auden. And he probably thought, Archie does not sound like the name of a serious poet. That was his given name. It wasn't a nickname. So on paper, he became A.R. Ammons, but everybody who knew him called him Archie. And he began publishing books of poems after also going to Wake Forest for college. On the GI Bill. He'd served in the Pacific in World War II on a destroyer in the Pacific, but then came back and became a poet and published many books, 22, from 1955 until, the last thing that came out just before he died in 2001, that was 1999. So 22, a very prolific poet. And when he died, it took some time, but his widow and his son, his colleagues at Cornell University, which is where he'd ended up teaching. I mean, to go from growing up in southeastern, hot, poor North Carolina to being an Ivy League professor, it was a tremendous life vector.
Sure.
You know, an interesting journey. But the family and his agent and his colleagues at Cornell thought, you know, there really should be a comprehensive edition of the work. He's that good, he's that important. So the family and the publisher asked around for people who might be interested. I found an inquiry in my email inbox. Would you be interested in doing this? Of course, the answer to that is yes. You can't say no to something like that. I didn't know really what I was
getting into,
exactly. But it became a real labor of love. And so in the end, it's a 2-volume edition titled The Complete Poems of A.R. Ammons, and it's been really well reviewed. I'm grateful for that.
Yes, the Book of the Fall or something like that.
Right, Publishers Weekly said it was one of the best books for fall 2017.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. And we have so much more to talk about, but we're going to take a really quick break. Stick with us. We'll be back after this short break.
Imagine the flu as something children read about in history books. We are at Mississippi State University, where we ring true. We all depend on accurate weather forecasts to plan our day. That's why Mississippi State University is teaching students to forecast the future using real-world news sets as classrooms, putting scientific discoveries in meteorology to the test, while honing on-air reporting skills real-time with local TV stations. And we do it so well that at any given moment across the country, 1 in 3 weather forecasts are being delivered by MSU-trained meteorologists who are helping people make crucial decisions that impact their safety, working to ensure business continuity, and in many cases, saving lives. Predicting the future? That's what we're preparing for every single day, so that you can prepare for your day.
Welcome back. We're here with Dr. Robert West from the Department of English, and we're talking about his 2-volume publication. And really quickly, we want to hit on that editorial process that we didn't quite get to before the break. So can you speak on that?
Sure. So what does it mean to have edited those books? Well, an important thing I had to do was compile them, to actually gather all the poems. It turns out his longtime publisher had no electronic text to the books. They go way back into the paste-up age of layout. And so the entire file, you know, this enormous file, I had to generate with the help of 3 really good research assistants that the college provided me. And it also involved, editing the work also involved, verifying that all those poems had the text they should have. I mean, just because a poem appeared once in a book doesn't necessarily mean it appeared right. So it meant delving into the archives of his work, which East Carolina University and Cornell have. They have these big archives. Verifying the text, sometimes having to do a lot of head-scratching work when I realized, no, it was not printed correctly. And sometimes he would reprint work and tweak it a little bit.
So it was a lengthy process.
It was.
I mean, really quick, how long? Years?
It was 6 years of real work, and then for a couple of years after that, some back and forth with the publisher as they actually settled the layout and asked me to help proofread it and so forth. But the hard work, 6 years.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, in 2007 you started, or I guess you took on leading the application process for getting a Phi Beta Kappa.
Phi Beta
Kappa. I knew I was going to mess that up.
That's okay.
PBK, right? That's what we're talking
right.
about.
That's the easiest way to sum it up. That's right.
I'm getting a chapter here.
Right.
We'd been trying Mississippi State for 40 years.
Yeah.
Can you talk about getting Pi Beta Kappa here?
Phi Beta Kappa.
Phi Beta Kappa, I'm so sorry. Phi Beta Kappa here at Mississippi State. And I mean, that was an extensive process, even when they were here, all of the interviews that they had to do. Can you just talk about leading that application and what it means to have the the chapter here.
Yeah, a little bit, sure. And if it helps you remember that the first letter there is Phi, the organization's letters, Phi, Beta, Kappa, they come from the first letters of 3 Greek words. It's a phrase, philosophia, philosophy, philosophia biou kubernetes, which means the love of learning or the love of wisdom. That's what philosophy means, is the guide of life.
Okay.
Or more literally, is the pilot of life. So just think that the P stands for philosophy. Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful academic honor society. I felt really lucky to be inducted at Wake Forest as an undergraduate. It does go to undergraduate liberal arts majors mostly. I mean, occasionally there are exceptions. Like you might have someone who has majored in a non-liberal arts field, like engineering or accounting, but who has taken far more liberal arts courses than their degree required them to. They too can end up being eligible for induction. And I should say too that when I and others involved with this effort use the term liberal arts, we don't mean the humanities and the fine arts. That term's been around for a long time, and it means the natural sciences, the social sciences, mathematics, and the humanities. So what's in the liberal arts? Biology? Yes. You know, history? Yes. Psychology? Yes. And math. So, you know, majors, for the most part, you know, majors in our College of Arts and Sciences, or those majoring in programs that our Arts and Sciences College administers. Maybe everybody doesn't know are actually programs in A&S, like the BA in Economics degree. That's housed in the College of Business, but those students get a College of Arts and Sciences diploma. So all of the high-performing students in the liberal arts are eligible.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And I guess, what does Mississippi State have to do to kind of ensure this success really quick? That'll be kind of our last question.
Sure. Well, there needs to be sustained commitment by the university administration and by the college administration especially. I'm not too worried about that, with the wonderful people we have in the administrative positions in the college and in the provost office, the president's office, and really some of the other vice president's offices too. They're very supportive, but we need consistent support by the administration, and we need consistent support by the Phi Beta Kappa members on campus who need to put real work into evaluating student records and selecting students for induction.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. We're so excited for all that you're doing for the College of Arts and Sciences.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in to Vision. We'll see you next time.